little intro video that I throw in there. And I used to awkwardly be like, blah, 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 and then go click it. And now I just edit it in later in post. Welcome to Vibrant Expansion. This is Kim Mohr. She is a very awesome person. How long have I known you? Like
10 years.
About, at least.
How old is 7?
7 will be 13 this year.
I have known you 11 years.
11 years.
She was 2 years old in a stroller the first time I met her.
Oh,
little nugget.
I know. Yeah. So we met at Serendipity Cafe, and I do still. Just part of me where I'm like, I still wish it was there, but
yeah, I miss aspects of the cafe for sure.
Yeah. So where are you at now? Like, what are your? I know you have a story that you're wanting to share.
Oh, I got story now. I have been doing a lot of healing for myself over the past year, very focused inward. Because thank you.
Yeah, I've been doing my own.
Very self-aware and just what have I brought to situations in my life?
Right.
And would I want to be treated like that? And how can I be the best version of myself to lift people up?
Right. Yeah.
And then be lifted up in return, because it turns into an energy exchange that I want to be a part of. So I've been doing that for about a year. And I want to help people with the knowledge that I've put together over the past 15 years or so.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
you're a wealth of knowledge for sure.
Just things that have helped me.
Yeah,
I do want to share it and help other people with it.
What was your first transition into like getting into that? Like, because I know healthy eating is kind of one of the big. That's when I think of you, I think of your journeys and your different experiences, I guess, with that.
The catalyst for me happened, to think back, it was probably 15 years ago.
Okay.
I had just gotten out of massage school.
Yeah.
And I realized I was an anatomy geek at that point. I just am obsessed with the body and the way it works. And it's so cool. And we're so cool. And how it can go horribly awry.
Right.
So my health had kind of spiraled down.
Yeah.
After massage school, or actually even before that, probably in my early 30s, because I think I was about 35 when I got out of massage school.
Okay.
I would get sick a lot. And it was amping up. Yeah. Like I started out just kind of tired a lot. And then I'd get a sinus infection every 3 months, which led to bronchitis, which meant I was sick for 6 weeks.
Right.
In bed, like I got run over by a semi for 2 weeks.
Right.
And it was just, like every quarter I was going through that.
Right.
And then digestive horror. I just was, and would end up being doubled over in pain because of searing pain in my lower abdomen, would radiate to my low back, shoot down the front of my legs.
And what started all that? Was it like stress and
I don't know.
Whatever. Yeah.
What I've learned is that through the past year, everything is trauma-based. Every single thing. Yeah. Emotional issues, mental health issues, physical issues, it all comes from our mindset, basically. Our programming from very early in life can make or break us.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not even the programming, it's how you receive it and process it.
Right.
So I didn't know all that back then. I just knew, I just feel like crap all the time. I'm tired all the time. Getting out of massage school, I would wake up in the morning with hot, like red hot swollen joints where I couldn't even bend my fingers. So thinking back to my grandma, she was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis in her 30s. So here I was in my 30s thinking, well, they say that's genetic, which is part of the narrative.
Right. You've accepted that.
Yes. Yeah. Accept that label as your badge and that you're going to wear it. And
my grandma had this and my mom had this. So I must have, and it's like,
my turn.
Yeah.
No. No. So I just started doing research on my own, ended up enrolling at the Institute Institute for Integrative Nutrition.
So, yeah.
Potty break.
Yeah. This is the second interview where that's happened. I'm like, oh, yeah, Saki doing this thing.
And that's okay.
That's okay.
Did you poop today?
Yeah. Yeah. Did you
We should pay more attention to the cats.
Yeah. They go regularly.
So I'm going to digress and go back to what I was saying, because that was the catalyst.
Right.
I felt like crap all the time. Had a lot going on emotionally. I hadn't talked to my dad in a year.
But,
We had a falling out. So it was my last summer with my girls. They were, I think, maybe 10 or 11 at the time.
Okay.
Just finished elementary school. And I was kind of sad about that. Like, I knew I was going to start working at least part-time.
Yeah.
And not be available to them as much as I had been. And I learned all these new skills I was excited about. Again, sick all the time, not really sure, how am I going to make this work? Because I was at the point where I couldn't really make plans because I wasn't sure how I was going to feel. If I would feel up to doing anything.
Yeah.
But determined nonetheless. So I remember specifically, it was a weekend. We had a bunch of friends over, pool parties all weekend. And I started to feel really sick. And it was a weird kind of sick, and I never go to the doctor.
Right.
So here I just sink into the symptoms, and get through it.
Right.
Because I know, my body's detoxing. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm going to feel better when this is over.
Right.
So the symptoms were weird though, because I never really developed any cold or flu-like symptoms. I just felt just super lethargic. I had to keep going. I had to keep going to lay down. Super nauseous, no appetite.
Wow.
But I never threw up, and I started I'd have a little bit of congestion, and it just kind of went on. So I stopped eating because I had no appetite. Super nauseous. I had a raging case of cotton mouth. I could not quench my thirst. So knowing what I know now, I basically put myself on a water fast, which is super, super detoxifying.
Right.
And I would have eaten had I not been so incredibly nauseous. So I was drinking a gallon of water a day, trying to quench my thirst, sleeping a lot because I was so fatigued.
Yeah.
And it went on for a week and a half. So something happened along the way. My body started to kick into high gear, because when you take all the burden of digestion off and your body can focus on healing, my body was like, woohoo! So the first symptom, we always talk about poop. So I'll break the seal. We're going to talk about poop. The first symptom was I sprung a hinge in my bunghole. And because I was only drinking water, it's just like I would have to run to the bathroom every 20 minutes.
Wow. Yeah.
For a couple days.
Yeah.
So eventually it was just running clear because all I was drinking was water.
Yeah.
So about a week went by with that. Of the just drinking water, no food, so another thing that happened was that as my body was healing, my ego came down. And I called my dad after a year, because it's mind, body, spirit.
Right. Yep.
So I called my dad, and he answered the phone. I called him at work. He answered the phone like he always did. I just started crying, just buckets of tears coming out of me, because that sense of, oh, you did me wrong, all of that just fell away.
Yeah.
I was like, I just really love my dad, and I don't really care what happened when I was whatever age, whatever, it doesn't matter. Love is all that matters. Everything else is bullshit. So I called my dad, and the second thing I distinctly remember happened, looking back, I'm like, that's so cool. Where I had no symptoms as far as congestion, really, no coughing, no sneezing, just the lethargy and the nausea. Those were my two main symptoms. After I called my dad and released those emotions, and I know my dad loves me, and he just wants the best for me, wants me to be happy.
Yeah.
I started blowing double handfuls of mucus. Like, where did that come from?
Wow.
So knowing what I know now, we hold everything in our cells. Where does mucus come from? Mucus is nothing but a vehicle to eliminate toxins from our body.
Yep.
So where I had no symptoms as far as any kind of congestion, after that emotional release, double handfuls
Wow.
of blowing my nose multiple times a day, double handfuls. And my body, when that was over, it lasted for a couple of weeks.
Wow.
I finally started to feel better. I could eat again. So here's the thing. I have dealt with sugar and salt addiction over my life.
Okay.
Like I used to drink a whole jar of pickle juice as a kid. I love chocolate. I love sugar. As I've gotten more knowledge, I've changed to better
versions of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Better versions of it, something that's more health supportive than so detrimental.
Right, right.
So coming out of that, I'm not eating
Kimchi juice.
Exactly. What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
There's probiotics in there. So I would notice, like, I'd try to eat some olives. It would be so salty, I couldn't. I couldn't even tolerate it. Where before, I'd eat the whole jar. A piece of chocolate. Oh, it's so rich. I can't even. Where before, I would eat the whole bag
After the water fast.
after that 2 weeks of complete. The other part, or other parts, I lost a little bit of weight. Surprisingly, not very much, considering I didn't really eat anything for a week and a half, 2 weeks. I felt so light inside my skin. And here's the other thing, where I had dealt with depression, cycles of depression and suicidal ideation from the time I was 15. It was just gone.
Wow.
I had achieved, because of that experience, I had achieved that level of homeostasis inside my body. And my only mood was just, I only had one mood. Like it was perfectly balanced inside of myself.
And this is when you were 35?
Yeah.
Yeah. How long did that sustain for?
So I didn't really understand back then.
Okay.
So when I started to eat again, I was eating very plainly because I couldn't tolerate any kind of intense flavor.
Right.
And I slowly started slipping back into my old eating habits, which weren't horrible, but not ideal.
Right.
Because it's all about toxic load, which we know. Yep. So I had flattened my toxic load with that experience. And then as I went back to my, I loved goldfish crackers. I didn't know what gluten was back then.
Right.
So I started to speckle my insides with all the products that I love to eat, like,
speckle my insides.
Yeah. Speckle that colon.
Yeah.
Flatten that cilia down.
So you know what? You know what's cool about this real quick is that I know there's a lot of people out there listening that they're like, what is gluten? Gluten-free. I hear this. I don't know what this is. Like, and here at 35, which you don't look a day older or over 35, but you take care of yourself. But the thing is there's always time to learn. Always time to learn. Like I felt like I was late in the game. And I mean, I got to think about that time wise. I think it was like 2011, 2010, 2011, whenever that was. I'm 35 now. Yeah. So like interesting reflection here. But it's never too late to get on that health journey. No. Yeah. And I have a story for that. Yeah. It's one of my favorite stories. So my grandma that had rheumatoid arthritis. Yeah. I thought I'm following her footsteps. When I went gluten-free, she was having some gallbladder issues. She was in her 80s at the time. Mid 80s. She was 50 years older than me. So I was 35. She was 85. Yeah. So when I went gluten-free and started to have really great results, she was having the gallbladder issues to the point that her doctor said, well, we're going to cut it out. Drugs or surgery. You don't need that. Yeah. Just because you were born with it doesn't mean you're going to die with it. You're older. Let's take it out. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Yeah. So it's like a car engine. The engine's broken. Just take it out. The car will run fine. Yeah. So at the time, my dad, he saw the results I was getting. And he mentioned to my grandma, I had to talk with her, why don't you try cutting out gluten and dairy, because I cut out both for a while, to heal my gut. Right. So my grandma did. Wow. She started drinking plant milk and cut out gluten. And her symptoms went away. Because the root of all disease is inflammation.
And she kept her gallbladder another 5 years.
Wow.
Where the doctor was ready, we need to get this out of here because it's causing you a lot of problems.
Wow.
So interesting, Teresa from Ahana.
Oh yeah.
We were on the same path, so we kind of got together to support each other as much as possible emotionally.
Oh yeah.
So one night we were at Casatina having dinner. I brought my grandma with me. And I was telling the story of how this started for me. Like I detoxed and, I and then got back in and healed myself again. And the restaurant came to be, and that's how that went. So my grandma's sitting there eating her meal, and, she was diagnosed in the 50s. I think, because she was born in 1920. So 1955, she was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis.
Okay, right.
And was medicated and went to a rheumatologist, I guess they're called. And still, the inflammation, her joints kind of ate themselves alive. Okay. And her fingers were bent off to the sides like that.
Yeah.
And I remember as a kid, she had this squeezy ball. She'd be working her hands all the time, putting her hands in warm dishwasher for relief, in dishwater for relief.
Yeah.
But just a trooper, it was just something she had to deal with. So we're sitting there, told the story, and I looked at my grandma. I said, how's your arthritis, Grandma? And she said, oh, that doesn't bother me anymore. Were you ever going to say anything?
Yeah.
So here's somebody that was diagnosed for 50 years.
Yeah.
And in her 80s did not have any pain anymore because she cut gluten and dairy out of her life.
That's amazing. Yeah.
It's never too late.
Yeah.
It's never too late.
Yeah. It's, And it's funny because I'm like thinking like right before this, the girls were like sneaking a piece of cheese and I was like, they're not eating cheese.
Yeah. And not that cheese, we're all bio individuals.
Right. There's that aspect too. And it's, like we were talking about just, letting kids have a little bit of, there's a little bit of leeway. So it's not this taboo thing, but it's like, they also understand, like they've been educated on it. So they know what's happening, they know about the inflammation side of it. They know the pus and the blah, so I'm like, all right, not all the time.
Yeah. Everything in moderation. And if it's something that somebody really enjoys, you can be eating the healthiest diet in the world, but it's not just your diet.
Right.
So if you're eating something that feeds your soul, that's the healthiest diet for you.
Yeah.
It just is.
Yeah.
Human beings are cockroaches. We are built to survive.
Yeah.
So
I like that. Like if you're feeding your soul a little bit, it's like sometimes you just gotta, like I don't really eat dairy. And the other day I was like it's been a week. Yeah. It's been one of those weeks. Yeah. And I was like, normally if I'm gonna get ice cream at all, I get like the plant-based, stevia, whatever. That's if I have it at all.
That's $87 a quart.
Yes, I know it's so expensive. I'm like, I'll just make my own at home.
Yeah.
But it was weird. I was like, I never go for ice cream. I've never been a real big ice cream person. But this week has been an intense energy week. And we went to Winn-Dixie because they have some organic stuff and it's right next to the dance studio. And I was like, all right, we'll get a couple veggies. Okay. They get a couple avocados, whatever. And I was like, let's go see if they have like some kind of organic, plant-based, whatever ice cream. And all they had was organic, gluten-free ice cream with organic milk and organic cane sugar. And I was like, yeah. And it was fine, but I am a little like, I feel my inflammation in my sinuses a little bit, even 2 days after. Yeah. Like I can actually feel it. So it's like, okay, that's a good reminder. Yeah. So even as an adult, it's like, okay, it's good to have a good reminder sometimes. Just like them, they're like, oh man, when I eat too much cheese, I get a bellyache, or if I eat, whatever. Yeah. So I digress, but yeah.
It's good. It's good to have a reminder. And I have used myself as a guinea pig over the years.
Yeah.
Even when I had the cafe, I was no stranger to the Wendy's drive-thru.
Yeah.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it really, for me, comes down to no diet is ever going to be perfect.
Right.
Nothing is perfect. What is perfect? It's different for everybody. I'm not going to be the food police. I don't subscribe to any particular dogma. You have to do it this way.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's exhausting.
Oh, yeah.
So my diet is pretty spectacular 80% of the time.
Yep.
20% of the time, I'm not going to pass up an Oreo.
Right.
Thankfully, I've healed enough
Where it
that
doesn't bother you.
I can have a little gluten here and there. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I know if I were to keep doing it and start spackling the inside of my colon again, which is not the goal. But 20% of the time, I'm a junk food junkie, and I'm going to eat whatever I want to eat.
You know what's really interesting is like, so I'm not going to go into my whole story because I still want to hear yours, but there's, I know my own story, but
I've watched your story unfold.
Yes, you have.
I have.
Over 11 years.
Right.
I was like, I knew it's been a while, but it was like, I haven't done the math.
Yeah.
Well, so long story short, 2016 had that adrenal crash, Lyme, parasites, mold in the apartment, got Epstein-Barr. I mean, I literally got hit with a quadruple
a health crisis.
Yeah.
You were in a health crisis.
And I couldn't drive for 6 months. Even the next 6 months after, it was difficult. It was like, okay, drive to school, back. Drive here, back. Okay.
And what a warrior.
Dude,
what a warrior mentality.
I never gave up. I got my yoga certification that year. I finished my AA that year. I was like, if I'm in bed, I'm going to be productive in bed. Now, of course, there were days where I was like, I'm just in bed today. But there were a lot of days where I was like, I'm going to keep going. I was working for a acupuncturist at the time, was doing some Chinese herbals. Before that, I was like raw foodie.
Yeah.
Total raw foodie.
4 months. Went raw vegan.
Yep. Yeah.
It's so much work.
It was a year that I was raw vegan, but the last 6 months of that, I was doing raw goat cheese because I was like, I need something else.
Yes.
But I mean,
it was not sustainable for me.
No, it was a good short-term detox, but then, I started learning about, your constitution. And then I had a friend, I don't know if you know,
what's your blood type?
Patchism. O negative.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So I haven't done a whole lot of research into the blood type thing, but that's more like you want to do your meats and
red
veggies.
Meat.
Yeah. And that's honestly.
Know your cow.
Yes. Yes. Know your cow.
Meet your meat.
Yes. meet your meat.
Meet your meat.
And I'm always, I'm like, I know what this is. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yep.
I wish I could do it a different way. Like I wish it was a smaller community type of thing.
The idea that that's enough. That is enough.
Yeah.
Bless your meal.
Bless it.
It's a thing.
Oh, and it really is. And it's like when you get, sometimes if you go to a restaurant and the person's in a bad mood, like, and they're making your food or whatever, and then you sometimes you'll have so it's like you have to have that. But it's interesting because I went down the Ayurveda path for a while, learning about all the doshas, and I was like, okay, I'm Vata Pitta. Okay, this is
me too.
Hey,
are you doing that?
Yeah, I figured when you said like raw food wasn't for you, it was like she must have some Vata in there.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, and it's it was interesting because they don't do red meat, and they do a lot of dairy, not cheese, but butter, ghee. Yeah. Even milk.
I love butter so much.
I love butter and ghee. But I was putting I was making my own ghee, and I was putting ghee in everything because I was like, it's nutritive. It'll help me build.
It's vitamin K.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because I was having all these dental issues too from all of the Lyme and everything else. And $4,000 worth of dental stuff all of a sudden out of nowhere. I was like, yeah, that's great.
Totally planned for this, no problem.
But with all of that ghee and everything, I started having gallbladder issues, and then I was like, oh, ox bile, cool, okay. Then I learned about the liver gallbladder flush, which I haven't done, but I did one day. Did you? The full.
I recommend doing it with a friend, so you have a control and somebody to compare symptoms with.
If you ever want to do it again,
okay, I want to actually.
Yeah,
I released a horrifying amount of gallstones.
See, I want to. Yeah.
I had no idea. Yeah. But if people had an idea.
You poop them out? They come out of the...
Yeah.
And they're just little, goat pellets?
It was because you're taking so many preparations to soften them, so it's pain-free.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, I passed a gallstone. Yeah, it feels like a fire pellet coming out of you. I would imagine. I've never passed one the traditional way,
Right.
which is one or two at a time.
Yeah.
No, I passed like 1,000 all at once. But thankfully, all the drinks I had to drink as part of the protocol softened everything up. And then
you do like the cherry juice or the apple, like something with malic acid.
I didn't want to do the sugar because
Okay,
I was on I got to get sugar on my life. It causes inflammation. That's my one, the bane of my existence. I love it so much though. But I was working 80 hours a week at a cafe. I had dried up all of my natural energy reserves, adrenals shot. So, but I was on that kick of, I got to stop sugar. I didn't want apple juice. So I was doing water with apple cider vinegar. Which is malic acid.
Okay.
Yeah, it worked great.
That's what I'll do then.
Yeah, the drinks, the whole thing is through David Wolf.
Oh, okay.
I found.
Okay.
And it worked great for me.
Okay.
The person that I did it with, he was someone who drank apple cider vinegar with water every morning. Oh. So interesting, even though here I am, I'm this health expert and I'm in charge of all. Okay, so I am a junk food junkie. Yeah. And my health was in the toilet. Yeah. You know, when the cafe opened, my health was in the toilet 5 years ago at that point. Right. Because I was about 40 when the cafe opened. He didn't release anything.
No way.
Is
he slowly breaking it down every day with the apple cider vinegar?
So there's something you can add to your diet every day. So you never have to go through releasing the horror of a gallstone. Is put a little apple cider vinegar with the mother in your water every morning.
Now, what was his actual diet like, though?
It was pretty good.
Would he do like cheese and dairy and all that? Because I know that's part of the fat.
He was playing around with a lot of different diets.
Okay. That's kind of how I was, yeah.
I've been like that too.
Yeah.
I've
kind of pretty
much got it figured out at this point.
Yeah.
One of the things that's happened recently is that I'm cooking at a plant medicine retreat, which is vegan. So I've kind of gone vegan.
Right.
But I'm never going to be the vegan that lives on fake processed bullshit.
Especially when Gatesy Boy is behind making all of that.
Don't want any part of it.
Yeah. No thanks. Beyond Meat?
No.
If it's impossible, it should stay impossible.
Yes, I agree completely. So even trying to incorporate more beans, I don't really do great on a lot of beans.
Yeah.
I don't love tempeh. I'm not doing tofu.
Nope.
I'm just not.
Yeah.
So I love vegetables.
Yeah.
I'll eat a lot of vegetables and some brown rice and some quinoa.
Yep.
But I find myself, I lost 12 pounds almost instantly.
Wow. Even with the carbs.
Yeah,
even
with the carbs.
Yeah.
And it's food combining.
Right.
It's proper food combining.
Yep.
You can eat carbs and veggies together all day, every day.
Yep.
Carbs and protein, like animal protein, hamburger is, the great American meal.
Right.
People are walking around with spare tires because their body's like, I can't handle all these carbs and animals together at the same time.
It's too much. Yeah.
It's too much.
Yeah.
But like tonight, I'm going to make chicken marsala because I'm just not dogmatic.
Yeah.
I don't feel like any one diet is the right diet.
Right.
And I friggin' love chicken.
Yeah.
I always have.
Me too. Yeah.
I feel like chicken and turkey are probably the most easy to assimilate.
I think so too. Like when we do taco night, we do the organic turkey, ground turkey. I mean, sometimes we'll do beef too, but I the little
I just don't digest beef that well anymore. I'm okay with it.
Yeah. On my cycle, I do red meat.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I ended up going with lamb.
Yeah,
but
I don't like to eat the cute animals.
I know. I have a hard that came from like Ayurveda, Chinese medicine, even Ayurveda, which they're mostly vegetarian. Yeah. But they're like, there's times where you need to have where it's medicinal.
Right.
And so that was the one that best fit with my dosha. So I was like, I'm tired of being like the first 2 days of my cycle. So I did do it, but it was tough. That was a really tough thing to like confront and be like, I don't want to do that. So I blessed it a lot, and I haven't had it in a while.
Yeah.
But I did that because I was going to an Ayurvedic physician who said, don't eat beef or other red meats because they're sacred. And I was like, they're sacred. Okay. So it was a weird, there's that dogma with it
right.
too, So you have to kind of like,
I just don't even, that's my issue with Impossible Burger and Beyond Meat.
I think so, yeah.
It's gross.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know any vegan, or I don't understand why somebody who chose veganism would want a plant-based burger that bleeds.
Yeah.
And that smells like meat when you cook it. I mean, maybe there are
It's a
people
little,
that went vegan for various reasons and they missed that.
Right.
But that, yeah, I'm not even attracted to the smell. It made me nauseous when I tried to cook it at home. It's like, what did they put? What happened in that lab?
Well, and like vegan cheeses, a lot of them have the MSG or like some other sort of sodium-like thing. And so I would get headaches from like the vegan cheeses unless I made them home. If I did my own cashew, nutritional yeast and all of that. If I made a homemade cheese, then I was fine. But like the processed vegan cheeses, my body did not like those.
Yeah, MSG was definitely off the list at the cafe.
Oh yeah.
That was part of my whole gimmick was no gluten, no MSG, no kidding. Yeah. Because MSG is in so many processed foods and it's a neurotoxin.
It literally, it's an excitotoxin. It makes your brain cells so excited that they go.
And then it wants more.
Yeah. Give me more.
I picture the claw machine in Toy Story.
Oh, yeah. The claw. It's like a very like crack like kind of thing. Like, oh, this is heavy. This is intense. It's not good for you. Give me more.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
and that's something I became aware of, that our body often craves the very thing that's making it sick. What is that?
It's what is that? I don't know if you would get this because I have the sugar battle too. But when you would feel run down, feel like, if I feel sniffly for whatever reason, that's when I'm craving sugar. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Right. I don't want more sugar, but it must be the pathogen that's like, ooh, I'd thrive on sugar. Let me put that out there.
Or if I found when my body felt so run down, I would crave sugar for energy. And then it was a vicious cycle.
The adrenal thing.
Yes.
That must be part of it. Yeah, adrenal and salt, or sugar and salt for adrenal. Salt is my main, like my blood pressure. Like,
I have really low blood pressure.
Yeah, me too.
Generally, I mean, like 87/50. How am I still walking around? I have no idea, but I am.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Yeah, I have the same thing. That
I'm just really chill.
Yeah,
you're really chill.
I'm pretty chill.
Yeah.
We're like chill warriors. Chill like comedian warriors.
Yeah.
Where did we leave off on your story?
Oh, I don't fucking know.
Yeah, I know that. Like, where was it?
La 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 la.
You and Teresa and your grandma were at Casatina.
Yep.
She didn't have you opened Serendipity. Yeah.
So I came out. Okay. So I had my own personal health crisis.
Oh yeah.
And the symptoms, let's see. So I had my own I had my own personal health crisis.
Right. That'll shift shit for you.
It'll shift you in either direction. Yeah. I am so thankful that I've always been holistically minded, that I shifted to, I need to start digging, because I just went through this experience where, and at the end of it, I have never felt better in my life.
Right.
Like every single symptom I've ever had is just gone. Wiped the slate clean.
And like you said, even emotionally.
Clean. Yeah. I was like a newborn baby walking around inside of a 35-year-old body. It was awesome. So my old habits I didn't realize the gift I had been given.
Right.
I took it for granted. And I got back, I had twin girls and we were busy all the time. I was starting to do massage and I just got into life. I got back into life and started snacking and eating things that my body didn't thrive on. Didn't realize how detrimental that could be. So I, was starting to feel sick again, and it kind of crept back in slowly.
Right.
So what I like to say is that people get used to a low level of misery and don't even realize how bad they feel.
Well, it's like you don't realize how good your body's supposed to feel.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I started to slide down that slippery slope and then found myself back in the cycle of sickness. And I just kept remembering how good I felt. well, my body cleaned itself out.
Yeah.
So after a while, of just evaluating my symptoms, everything was falling apart. I thought I had colon cancer. I'm dying. All these thoughts because I don't ever go to the doctor. Instead, I'm just online researching and how can I make myself feel better. So I came across a school in New York called the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. And it was expensive and it was far. It was, it's distance now. And I know multiple friends that have shown up in my life, coincidentally, that went to the same school.
Wow, that's awesome.
I went, I guess it was back in 2008.
Okay.
So back then you had to fly to New York 1 weekend a month for 10 months. And here I have 13-year-old girls at home that rely on me. And how am I going to shift everything around? I thought about it for a year, tried to talk myself out of it. And just more and more, I need to go do this. I feel like I need to be part of that for myself. And then how can I help other people with what I learned?
Oh, yeah.
So I made the commitment. And the first weekend, I sat in the audience of 1,200 fellow students. The founder of the school was on stage talking, and the more he spoke, the more other people got up there to speak. I just found myself totally overcome and just started crying, like tears rolling down my face. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, learning what I'm supposed to be learning so I can take it out into the world and help people with it. I learned about food allergies. That was the biggest thing. I learned about gluten. That was my first experience learning about gluten. So they were talking about the top 8 allergens, which is corn, soy, dairy, shellfish, oranges, weirdly, citrus, right?
Wow.
And gluten was one of them. And I thought, they're talking about the symptoms associated. I was like, that sounds really familiar. So here I was, a lifetime of constipation, 35 years of being constipated, not realizing that was an issue.
Right.
All these other symptoms that had cropped up as far as fatigue and just, swollen joints, digestive distress, dry eyeballs. I just had all kinds of weird stuff.
Yeah.
Chronic headaches and joint pain and like stiffness everywhere. Within 3 days of going gluten-free, I started pooping every day for the first time in my life. Every day. I was like, it's not perfect, but I think I might be headed in the right direction. So I kept going.
Yeah.
So I came out of the health coaching school. I still have my massage license, health coaching certificate. Okay, who can I help?
Right.
Who can I help heal? I healed myself, and I'm still on the journey. It's a process.
Right.
So the opportunity came along to open a restaurant. Had no restaurant experience. Had no idea what I was getting myself into. Teresa gave me a plaque actually at that time because she was about 6 months behind me in her process. Okay. So she actually came to Serendipity to pitch in washing dishes. And we were both like, we have no idea. Like I had never cooked on a line before.
Oh my gosh.
I had no clue.
So you guys knew each other before.
Well, that's a whole other story.
Oh, wow.
That's a whole other podcast.
That's
how we
crazy.
met. Because
That's
that
awesome.
was total kismet. How we met.
Yeah.
Total kismet.
No, she's awesome. I was hanging with her today, actually.
So, she would come and help, and we just we supported each other. It was really great because we were very much on the same path. Yeah. Just wanting to help people.
Yeah.
So that all came to be and learned a lot along the way. But the great thing about having that restaurant was that I was chained to that stove 80 hours a week. Chained not to the stove, chained to the restaurant 80 hours a week. Because if I wasn't cooking, I was shopping. Yep. Because in the beginning, I had to go. Okay, so we opened up in March of 2010 with not enough money in the bank to pay the coming month's rent. That's not recommended in the restaurant business. Right. You should have about a year of expenses financially. Wow. Yeah. For payroll, for everything. Wow. No money. No money for advertising. All I had was a Facebook page that I had created and thankfully had already started to market and, try to get the buzz, build a buzz around the place. Opened up a gluten-free cafe in 2010. People were like, what fuck is gluten? Why should I care about that? I'm like, no, guys, listen.
No.
Listen.
You have no idea.
So,
Your life's gonna change.
Yeah, everything's gonna be better.
Yeah.
And don't even get me started on poop. Oh, now we're started on poop. So, opened up on March 10th. Rent's due in 21 days. Had used up, we had borrowed money with a bank. My then husband, we had each opened a credit card and maxed it out. So, we ended up doing between 60 and 80 grand, everything we had to get that place up.
Wow. Yeah.
Nothing left. At that point, Danielle and Sarah were 15.
Yeah.
And I was like, listen, if you need money, you're going to have to come serve at the cafe.
Yeah.
You're going to have to work for your own money now, which was great to teach them that kind of work ethic that young. So it really worked out great for everybody.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
But we did it. We made it happen.
Yeah.
Because I'm on a mission from God, and we're going to help as many people as possible because our food system is corrupt. And it is not focused on health.
Nope.
And we are all going to have to save ourselves.
Yep.
That's how this is going to go.
Yep.
So it went, for 8 years. It was after about the 5th year I was done working 80. This is not sustainable. Right. My passion continues to be health and wellness, but I realized after about 5 years, I have zero passion for the restaurant industry.
Mm-hmm.
So it just kind of fizzled out for me. Thankfully, was able to sell it and move on and continue my passion for health and wellness and helping people.
Yeah.
Here I am.
Yep. What's your main thing now? Because I've kind of seen you transition through all of that. So what would you say your main?
And really trying to remember who I am and remember why I started in the first place. Started on that journey of really being such a cheerleader for food.
Right.
The changes I was able to facilitate in my own life.
Right.
And then I think back to the restaurant. We helped tens of thousands of people over 8 years. Like, that's amazing to me. We're just, regular people wanting to help other people.
Did you see a lot of people come in who weren't in a good eating habit that you were able to educate along that process? Yeah.
And even just educating by modeling it.
Right.
And the food was really simple. I don't have any culinary training.
Yeah, but I always
I just like flavors, you know? And the idea that, I had no restaurant experience. I had no culinary training, but I guess we're going to open a restaurant. I don't know. Let's see if this works.
Yeah, this will work. It did though.
Right.
Yeah.
Teresa gave me the best restaurant warming present, a little plaque that said, to succeed in life, you need 2 things, ignorance and confidence. I was like, I had both in spades.
Yeah, right. This is
because if I would have known what I would have had to do to make that work, I would have been like, fuck that shit.
Yeah.
If I would have known how much work, I just worked myself to death. But I had to work through a lot and heal a lot. And I am just grateful for the training.
It's cool because this is, this whole thing has been a transition, for me. And I'm I've never had a YouTube channel. I've never had an interview thing. And it was like, you're not meant to do massage anymore. Here's what you're going to do. And I was like, yep. All right, cool. I can do that. I was like, I've got some video, photo, documentary, film. I've got editing background and all that. But I'm even now, my computer fan is making a noise. You can't hear it on here, which is great. But I'm in the back of my head, sometimes I'm we're gonna elevate next. We're gonna change this up and make it, But it was I liked that I had enough confidence to do it and enough ignorance to do it without caring if it was perfect or not.
Without being afraid.
Yeah.
When you're ignorant, you can't have any fear.
That's
Just we'll figure this out.
We'll just figure it out. It'll be good. And it's been a journey. It's been a process.
You're doing a great job.
Well, thank you. Even now I'm did I frame it the right way? And I could sit here and do this all day, nitpick over, but it's just, I was you know what? If you wait too long, because I could have taken 5 or 6 months, learned all the perfect ways to
analysis paralysis.
Oh, yeah, I like
that. Get you every time.
I now when I see Teresa now, I want to tell her that and be like ignorance,
confidence. 2 things. You just need 2 things. So today, I am much like you. I want to reach as many people as possible.
Yeah.
We're responsible for our own health.
Yep.
It is up to us to keep our immune system strong, to fight off viruses and bacteria. And that's all there is to it. That's where I stand.
Yeah.
And I will continue to want to spread that message because I've lived it. My health was in the toilet. I was able to figure it out, regain my health, and then help people with that knowledge.
Right.
So I am at the point where, I'm cooking for that healing retreat, which I love. I love being able to support that effort.
Right.
House parties, I'm open to that.
Yeah.
Much like the candle parties and Tupperware parties, except you get to eat.
Yeah.
And maybe learn a thing or 2.
Right.
Yeah. Invite all your friends over. Let's make some food.
And I mean, let's face it, you're also entertainment at the same time. Like, you're like, you get a little fun with it.
Yeah. And sometimes I'm funny.
Sometimes.
And sometimes I'm inappropriate, which is funny because I think from looking at me, people don't expect it. And then it starts happening. A friend of mine put it perfectly, and I didn't understand it until I understood it.
Right.
For years, she would say, I love going places with Kim to watch her talk to people that don't know her, to watch the look on their faces when she starts saying the things that she says. I'm like, I don't know. I'm just being myself. But then once I really understood, like, oh, that's what she's talking about.
There's it's so funny because like I've been called to bring out my inner comedian again because it's been there and I've kind of suppressed her a little bit because I was like, oh, what will people think of me as a mom if I make dirty jokes? And I have this. And it's not so much that I really worry what people think, but it's just kind of like the whole like co-parenting situation that I had. I was like, I have to be I'm a good mom and I'm doing the right things because I don't want anybody to have something negative to say that could be falsely used against me.
Right.
So I can't do that. And now I'm like, yeah, I can be myself because I'm getting back into watching comedy and I watched the Bo Burnham special the other day and it was like, he talks about a lot of stuff. There's a lot of things comedians will say where I'm like, if a normal person just said that, it could be like, oh. But if you get on stage and say it, it's totally acceptable. So I'm like, I have a platform. Like, yeah. So I don't know if you incorporate that consciously or if it's just, this is me. This is just who I am.
I'm just channeling God. I feel like we are living a cosmic joke and God has the best sense of humor of all. And speaking of that, like I'm not religious. Yeah. I don't have any love for religion. I feel like it's man-made.
Dogmas.
We're connected. We're all connected to each other and we are connected to the entity that created us. Right. Period.
Right.
That's how I feel.
Yeah.
So when the cafe first opened, I was pretty much the only cook for a year and a half. And I was just no experience, having to make things up as I went along.
Right.
Trying to, create it to be easier with systems and routines. And I'm just, so anyway, it wasn't always perfect.
Right.
And now I'm on a stage, basically, and there's the internet.
Yep.
Where people can put whatever they want on there.
Right.
They can, Google reviews, Yelp reviews. So a review came across that did not show me in a positive light because I wasn't always feeling like cooking for people. I was tired. So it just crushed me.
For the cafe?
Yes. A negative review for the cafe. Okay. In particular, person that was cooking, that's me.
Yeah.
So I was crushed by it though, because how much harder can I work? My heart and soul of this place. I'm tired. I'm just a human being.
My cup is empty now.
You cannot have a piece of my soul for that $10 you just paid me for that plate. You can't have it.
I like that.
Right?
Yeah.
So I had a customer in the cap, right?
Yeah.
I had a customer sitting there and I was kind of They hate me. Why am I here? Is this really my life right now? So the customer looked at me, and it was just the two of us in the cafe. She looked at me. She said, "Do you think you're better than God?" No.
Ooh, yeah.
And she said, "Not even God has a 100% approval rating."
Oh my gosh.
That has guided my life ever since. Do I care
Look
what
at that.
people think? Right? Do I care what people think? Everybody has an opinion. If they have an opinion of me, other people's opinions are none of my business.
In the oh so glamorous words of Salt and Pepper, opinions are like assholes and everybody's got one.
And sometimes they stink. Sometimes they stink.
I was quite young when I first heard Salt and Pepper, and I heard that song, and I was like, that was a quote that stuck with me.
Yeah.
Opinions are like assholes and everybody's got one. I was like, oh, nice.
Yep.
From eighth grade on, that was my like little mantra sometimes.
I like it.
Are you better than God? Because not even he has 100% approval rating. That's big.
Talk about an ego check.
Oh yeah. Oh,
ego check, gut check. You're right.
Oh, all right.
Oh,
yeah,
I feel so much better now. One of the books that changed my life was The 4 Agreements. That was one of the first ones I read, but it ties into that.
Yeah.
Don't take anything personally.
Yep.
It's not about you.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their own movie playing in their head, and they're the star of their own show. Yep. You're a secondary character. Yep. It's never about you. Praise baby Jesus. I can just go on with my life.
I just reread it for the 3rd time, but I did an audiobook this time, and it was with a book club. We do like a conscious book club now, and I was like, oh, cool. I'm learning about books I wasn't exposed to before. And we did Untethered Soul.
I haven't read it yet, but it's on
really
my list.
Cool. It talks about how like the voice in your mind sometimes is just this roommate that lives in your head, and and you have to learn how to separate you from the roommate, and it's cool. But you said something in the very beginning, and I was like, oh, that's like the 4 agreements, because, and I forget exactly what you said. It was something about like sometimes in childhood or traumas, it's like, it depends on if you agree with that trauma or not. It's like, you can hear, like in they talk about in the very beginning of 4 agreements, he says, there was this mom who had a headache and the daughter was singing, and she's like, stop singing your voice. And like she was complaining, and the daughter had a beautiful voice. It wasn't her voice. She grows up, and she would have been an amazing singer, but she's like, oh, my mom thinks I have a bad voice. She agreed to the traumatic words that were said. So just because there's a trauma that happens doesn't mean we have to accept it as any truth, because that was just the mom's stuff. Yeah. So yeah, that book is, if you haven't read it, you should. Or
I'm going to read it now. Let's start a club.
Kim's cooking book club. Cooking and book club.
So I've been doing a lot of healing for the past year, and I'm finally at the point where I'm ready to put myself out there.
Awesome.
I felt like I had done what I was going to do.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I guess I'll clock out now. I don't know. What am I even here for anymore?
Right.
So I had to really go inside of myself.
Yeah.
And find that spark again.
Right.
Because that spark was gone.
Yeah.
So I'm back, bitches. And I'm starting to create videos. I just finished yoga teacher training because I wanted to I was hungry for more holistic knowledge. Okay. I wanted to create more connection with people. Yeah. And then use what I learned to help. Yes. So the focus is detox and digestion, and the idea of moving the human body every day. Because people get stuck in, I don't have time. If you don't make time for wellness now, you will be forced to make time for sickness. Yep. What I want to offer is maybe 20 minutes. Let's do a 20-minute stretch. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. We're not doing handstands. Right. Move your body every day. Yeah. It's designed to move. We're hinged everywhere. We're designed to move. It's my scarecrow pose.
Yeah, I like it. Well, yeah, and that's like, and talking about detox and digestion. Well, you get your lymph moving. You get your, I haven't mastered Nolly yet, but
we have a lymphatic juncture every place we have a hinge. Yep. The idea to keep everything. I get real excited about
I know. It's so funny because like we both have been massage therapists, yoga instructors, healthy food peoples.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's
We are building an army of energy.
yes. Yes. I know that's your quote.
I like it. It was actually ultraviolet. Hold on. That's a big word. Ultraviolet hippopotamus. Remember that local band?
No.
So their short name was UV Hippo. That's a lot easier. But that was their tagline for their band.
Really?
We are building an army of energy. So I bought the shirt. I don't have it anymore, but I've always identified with, yes, we are.
Cool. I'm going to have to research into them now because I'm
they're
surprised I haven't heard of
They're
that.
not around anymore. They were awesome. They were like a 9-piece band.
Yeah.
Of former band geeks, which are the best.
Oh, yeah. That's
because they did a lot of practicing.
in high school, my best friends were in a ska band, and they were all, it was like trumpet, trombone, saxophone. They were all the band geeks. They were awesome to hang out with. I was like, you guys are cool.
You're real people. I dig it.
Yeah. I can shoot the shit with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and yeah. So it's fun. So you're doing videos. You're doing yoga videos?
I'm gonna incorporate everything.
Yeah.
Food and lifestyle,
awesome.
and just talk about stuff
that
matters to me. And like with the cafe and the gluten-free thing, my only indication that might work is as I went gluten-free and I was seeking out more resources to support my lifestyle, I'd walk into, which is now Earth Origins. What did it used to be called? I can't remember.
I can't remember either, but yeah, that I know.
It was something.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's Earth Origins now. I'd walk into that store, and every time I went in, every couple of weeks, I noticed
Home Harbor Natural Foods.
That's the one. Earth Origins is easy to remember.
Yeah.
So I'd walk in there, and I would realize every time the gluten-free section was a little bit bigger.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought, this could work.
Mm-hmm.
It could work. I feel like I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
Who can I help?
Yeah.
So that's the same direction I'm coming from with movement.
Yeah.
I'm aging, so I want to support the functions of my body.
Right.
The narrative tells us, well, as you get older, your body's going to break down.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to need medication.
Yeah.
You're not going to handle this on your own.
Right.
That's the narrative. So all aging is, by the narrative's standpoint, is degrading. Your body's going to degrade to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But I'm not ever going to buy the narrative.
Right.
So I'm at the point of, why degrade if you can upgrade and continuously upgrade?
Yeah.
And be open to, well, this could work for me.
Right.
Eat natural food, incorporate movement.
Yeah.
And poop every day. At least once. At least once.
You got to make t-shirts. You got to.
My favorite shirt is already out there. I pooped today with the stick figure. Today. I don't have it yet, but I feel like it's gonna be in my wardrobe eventually.
I like that upgrade instead of degrade.
Why degrade?
Yeah.
Why accept degrade?
Because it is. That's a narrative.
Yes.
That's the narrative that's put out there. Mm-hmm.
It's very profitable.
Mm-hmm.
I'm over here like, you can take your narrative.
Yep.
And shove it.
The sun don't shine.
Mm-hmm.
Poop it back out.
Yep. But not on me.
Not on me.
Not into that kind of thing.
We ain't talking about poop, but yeah.
No. So that was the final piece. I wanted more holistic knowledge.
Yeah.
And just be able to share with people.
Mm-hmm.
Not in a, you need to do this, because different things work for different people.
Right.
I feel like yoga is something that's available to everybody.
Yeah. No, it is. And there's different ways, there's so many different modifications and ways to work around things. And
I love that. Stay loose.
My favorite class to teach, I loved teaching beginners yoga.
Mm-hmm.
I loved helping people learn how to move that. They're like, I didn't know I could feel that kind of stretch. I didn't know my leg could do that. I didn't know, and it's amazing to see people go through that transition of, and sometimes it's a harder journey than others. Like sometimes people need, extra help with that. And it's really cool. It's really did you ever see that video? Oh gosh, I can't even remember the guy's name now. There's a video of the guy, he was the old army veteran. He used to jump out of the planes and he injured his back, and he got really, really big. And
Joe Dispenza?
No. Arthur. If you he did DDP, so he did like the Diamond Dallas Page yoga, and I think his name is Arthur. So if you look up like Arthur's transformation or something, and so he literally starts. I know.
There you go.
No, I've been like switching legs. Like, okay, all right. But I saw him literally. He was in a wheelchair. And he started doing yoga a little bit every day, And
is he Asian?
Yeah. And by the end of the video, he's
running across the field.
And I like to this day, that video will make me cry. Like I could watch it right now. I've seen it a million times. I could watch it right now, and by the end, I'd be like, and that was the video that made me want to go become a yoga instructor, because I want to help people, because I know that
anything's possible.
Because any doctor would have told him to accept the narrative of you're in a wheelchair and you're obese. Sorry, like here's some pills maybe to do whatever, like we don't have to accept that.
Nope. I love it.
No.
Do we have anything else to talk about?
I don't know. That's where you're at now. You're doing videos. I'll put the link to you have a channel.
I have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
The Hungry Lazy Solution. HLS.
The abbreviations haven't changed.
They have not. Should we talk about that?
Yeah,
how that came to be?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so after a year in the restaurant business, I was like, I was just exhausted.
A year into it.
A year into it. 80 hours a week, just no relief in sight. No money to pay for help. I had to take whatever help I could find. Like, I had friends that pitched in. I am eternally grateful for the support that they gave to me. I love them immensely for the selflessness they displayed and agreeing to work for food, because that was all I had.
Yeah.
So I remember walking out of the cafe. It was another 16-hour day. Just exhausted. And I was just at the end of my rope, a year of that. I was like, oh God, I don't feel like this is ever going to be better.
Yeah.
Like, this is my life now.
Yeah. But it wasn't, even though you were passionate about aspects of it, it wasn't in true alignment with long-term. Yeah.
Right. It was part of the plan
to
get me where I am now. Right. Eternally grateful. So walking out, my body was breaking down. I mean, that's not sustainable. I was on terrazzo floors 14, 16 hours a day, prepping and cooking and cleaning and prepping. It was just crazy.
Yeah.
So I walked out of the cafe, and just, I can be dramatic sometimes, in case you haven't noticed. I'm very expressive. And the older I get, the more expressive I get.
I was going to say, I feel like you're even more expressive than when I first met you.
Yes.
And that's what I'm hoping for. I'm like, I'm literally like, honestly, like, I kind of, not idolize, what's the word? Influence.
Am I your spirit animal?
You are my spirit animal. I'm like, yes. I want that.
I can tell you, the older you get, the less books you give, and then
it'll be a crazy old lady,
right?
Like I can picture myself as an old lady with all of my cats. And I'm like, oh yeah, I know there's a stigma around that, but I will be an old cat lady, and I'm gonna be a really ridiculous old cat lady. And it's coming back to me.
Yes, the spark is back.
Yes,
and that passion and that fire.
Yeah, you're my spirit animal.
I see the system, and it's broken.
Yes,
and we're gonna save ourselves.
Yes,
I have some ideas. I'm only one little person.
I will help you if you need to build the energy army.
Yes,
consider me a part of it. Yeah,
woohoo! Let's go. So coming out of the cafe that night, I just kind of threw my hands up at the sky. There was nobody out there. It was like 10 o'clock at night. Yeah. I threw my hands up in the air, and I was like, oh! I let out like a guttural, oh! I just want to be a lazy slut. I don't know how much longer I can do this. Like, I'm just, I'm outside and nobody's around. I'm just like, ah! Just want to be a lazy slut. And at that moment, a star went shooting across the sky. I was like, oh, okay, I'll keep going. But Oh, I have a goal now. Just want to be lazy. So I branded that at one point, the hungry, lazy slut. Well, I'm not a slut. I mean, not like a real life one.
Right.
So
It was just,
it was funny. It was funny at
Yeah.
first for me and the 5 people that really know me. I make jokes.
I remember seeing it. I was like, I like that.
And I have a dirty mind. So clean food, dirty mind. It was a good thing. But it got to the point where I would cringe at myself. Like I would cringe at my own jokes. I wasn't making myself laugh anymore. So I was like, okay. So my gut is telling me it's time to start. This is not something I'm going to be authentic with.
Right.
It loses the humor at that point. It becomes forced. So I rebranded to the Hungry Lazy Solution. And my own personal joke is you still can't spell solution without slut. Still a rebel. Still here. Not going anywhere. But also hungry, lazy, that's the main complaint that I would hear from people that helped motivate me to want to open a restaurant in the first place without any experience. People were like, I'm hungry for sure, but I don't have time. I don't have the desire. Okay, so you're lazy is really what it comes down to.
Right.
Here's the solution. And that's the gift the cafe gave me.
I
know how to prep in advance. I know how to take a handful of ingredients
and
create multiple things. You don't have to have crazy things in your pantry. You don't have to eat things you don't like.
Right.
I don't like tofu. I'm not eating it.
Right.
That's what it comes down to. I'm not ever going to incorporate it.
Nope.
I don't like the idea of it. It's a highly processed food. Eat more vegetables.
Yep.
I always come back to that.
Soy.
It's a lot of soy.
Yeah.
That's a lot of men with boobs is what that comes down to.
A little too much estrogen.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
I love that.
So
you can't spell solution without.
You can't.
Which you said earlier, you can't spell passion without ass.
Yes.
And I was like, I love that. I want a shirt with that. Because I've been told multiple times, but I love you guys, even by friends and family, sometimes they're like, you're kind of overly passionate, where it's kind of intense. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah. So when you're like, I'm a little dramatic, I was like, I think that comes with our personality.
I get really passionate. Yeah. And that was at the cafe because I would go off on a tangent. Customers there, and then I'd be like, okay, reel it in, Kim. Make it funny. It's like, I get really passionate sometimes, and you can't spell passionate without ass. You're welcome.
You're welcome. You just own it. Yeah. You're like, you know what? I'm kind of an ass. And so I noticed that. I noticed there's times where like I'll make a joke or like sometimes. All right. So Dana Carvey was one of my favorite people, impressionists. When I was like in 7th and 8th grade, I was like, I'm going to be on SNL and I'm going to do silly voices and do skits and blah, blah, blah. And so sometimes I go into impersonations, especially if things annoy me. So like I'll do a voice and I'm like, am I making fun of that person? I'm like, maybe. But I'm doing it in a comedic way where I'm still venting and I'm not truly, I don't ever truly want anything bad to happen about this stereotypical voice that I've done. Mm-hmm. I still love you. I really do. But I can't help but blah. And it's funny because you said when you're not laughing at your own jokes anymore. I heard an interview with Dana Carvey and Conan O'Brien, I think. It was like a year or two. It was about a year ago because I was starting to get into comedy and I wanted to do voiceovers. And I started my voiceover demo reel for doing cartoons and whatever. And this interview, he was like, the funny thing is he's like, your George W. Bush doesn't actually sound like George W. Bush, but it does enough where you can kind of tell what it is. But he's like, the best thing about it is it makes you laugh, because it makes yourself laugh. It's automatically funny. Where there's other people who could do the same voices and it would be more spot on. They'd actually sound just like that person. But there's a cartoon version style that he does because that's what makes him laugh. And that's why people like it.
It's authentic.
So you don't have to be perfect at something. You can just be your own authentic creation or version of whatever. So I just thought that was cool. As soon as you said that, when you're like, my jokes weren't making me laugh anymore, I was like, I've been there.
And it's okay. Just
Yeah.
let it go.
So is Hungry Lazy Solution the name of your channel and everything too?
It is.
That's the whole. Okay.
I think it's under Kim Mohr as well.
Okay.
So you can actually look up Kim Mohr on YouTube and it pops up.
Yeah. Awesome.
MOHR.
MOHR. Because you always want more.
Right. Whether you really want it or not, it's coming. More of it. So yoga teacher training was my final thing.
Yeah.
Like I've learned what I need to learn.
Yeah.
I'm ready to share.
Awesome.
I've healed a lot of stuff inside of me.
Where do you teach now?
I am not teaching anywhere.
Okay.
Yet. I just finished the training.
Yeah, I saw
2 weeks ago.
Okay, yeah.
So I feel like I don't necessarily want to train or teach at a studio. I would like to keep it online.
I like that.
I think I'm going to head over to Patreon.
Yeah.
I like that idea of having a captive audience.
Yeah. I like it.
You're mine now.
Yes.
And I love the yoga community. There's a lot of like-mindedness.
Yeah.
A lot of people that want to help other people.
Yeah.
Coming out of that was my main takeaway. Wow, my body can bend in ways I had no idea were available to me before. Just lengthened so many muscles.
Yeah.
And I kind of half-assed it.
Yeah.
Like I was in a position where I would have to drive an hour and a half each way to get to the training.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And then spend the weekend locally. So I was like couch surfing.
Right.
And that's just kind of stressful for me. I like to root and cocoon.
Yeah.
So having to keep coming out into where it's all people-y and and then I'm on because I heard that I couldn't figure out if I was an extrovert with introvert tendencies, or the term ambivert came along. I was like, that's what I am. Like, I love being in front of people and inspiring them and getting them excited, but then I gotta go be by myself for a minute and recharge everything.
Well, it's funny because people will assume that I'm very animated sometimes, and they're like, "Oh, you're like a social butterfly," and I'm like, "Nah, I guess no." And they're like, "Yeah, but you have a YouTube channel. You're obviously putting yourself out there. Yeah, you're not necessarily like." But if it's too people-y, sometimes I'm like, I love you guys, but I need to go. Yeah. Mm-hmm. This is the perfect way to do it. It's a controlled atmosphere.
Nobody's really looking at you, but they're all looking at you.
Captive audience.
I like it. So I'm just moving forward with more videos because I love.
It's fun.
I love it. Yeah. It's fun.
You can be really creative with it. It is a creative outlet.
It is. And it's definitely my outlet of choice.
Yeah. I like making fun thumbnails on Canva too.
To make Canva's amazing.
Canva's great.
Canva makes everybody look professional.
Yep.
I like it. I played with that a little bit. And like I said, I've started to just share little things on Facebook.
Yeah.
I'm getting used to going live on Facebook again because I used to all the time.
Yeah.
And this time it's going to be with yoga. As soon as I get my service changed over, which is something I'm going to do when I leave here today.
Yay.
I'm going to put the final things in place to make that happen. And I'm just here to help people. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Nutrition, movement, lifestyle, mindset, and reaching as many people as possible.
Yeah.
Like I said, with the cafe, I just think back to that. Literally tens of thousands of people. And then the ripple effect of that.
Right.
Like the people that came to the restaurant and got whatever they needed to get, who were they able to go help?
Yeah. They went home and told their dad about it, who's been having digestive issues, or their friend, or their... Yeah.
So one of my favorite comedic, I don't even know who the comedian is, but I love this message. So he's talking about fisting, right? And this is what I try to bring to the table. And I love it so much.
Yeah.
He's like, you got to go in first and then make a fist.
Oh my God.
You can't go around punching people in the asshole. It's rude. So in my mind, it's like you have to meet people where they are.
Yeah.
You got to go in first and then make a fist. Just be gentle. Don't be
Who
like,
was that?
I don't know who he was. Somebody shared it with me.
Oh
but
my gosh.
I bet if I Googled it, I could find it. Because I bet the whole routine is pretty funny. If that's
I'm sure. Yeah.
But yeah, meet people where they are.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's what you're doing with yoga.
Yeah.
So it's, that's awesome.
And in the spirit of yoga,
Yes.
I would like to share how I intend to close out any class I do, which is, I'm going to look at the camera now. So I just completed my yoga teacher training. And one of the sayings in yoga that is repeated ad nauseum is namaste. And the idea of that is that the light in me honors the light in you. And through all of the healing that I've been focusing on for the past year intensely, but it feels like a lifetime, really, because it is definitely a journey, not a destination. We are all light and dark. We possess equal amounts of that inside of us. And often, especially in yoga, I've noticed, but people that consider themselves more children of the light, we want to focus there. No, and deny the darkness. So here's the thing. We all have light and dark. To deny one is to deny the other. You have to have the contrast. So I would like to say namaste. The ass in me honors the ass in you.
It's yin yang.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's a balance.
Yeah. The
Mhm.
ass in me honors the ass in you. And I think we'll sign off there. Yeah.
I mean, what
I
else
don't know
is
a
there
better
to
way.
add?
Yeah, I don't know a better way to end off there. So, namaste.
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 And if you want to spell it, it's NAMASSTAY.
I love you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming.